Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Give it a few minutes for people to join.
Sure.
Okay, we got some people joining. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. We're going to get ready to get started here in a second. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is Tiffany Spencer, or I'm Tiffany Spencer. I'm here with Nuria Curtis from KForce.
Hey, everybody.
We're so excited to be here with you today. Again, thank you for joining Black Orlando Tech. If you can, please make sure you share this live video. It's going to be really great information that we're going to be talking about today. I hope that you all have come with your questions. We get lots and lots of resume questions, lots of interview questions, and definitely today is going to be the day that you want to ask all of those questions and be prepared to take a lot of notes. Just so you know, our cohorts, the Black Orlando Tech cohorts, will be kicking off in the next week or so. So if you're interested in adding a new tech skill to your resume, you're looking to transition into tech, even if you're brand new to tech, the cohorts are definitely for you. This is going to be your last week. And by the end of the month, you have to sign up. So please, 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 if you're interested, please sign up. If you have any questions, please email us. There are maybe very few scholarship spots available. So if you do need any assistance with paying for the cohorts, please reach out. But this is definitely a great opportunity for you to take 8 weeks after work to have a personal coach and mentor take you through a tech topic for 8 weeks. And we have a variety of topics and cohorts that will prepare you for a career in a top tech area. So I highly encourage you to visit our website, blackorlandotech.org, to look up those cohorts. And so now I'd like to let Nuria introduce herself.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Nuria Curtis. I work with KForce Technology. I am a client relations manager. So essentially what that means is there's a recruiting partner and then there's the client manager who kind of interfaces with the client. So I'm all day, every day in front of the client, kind of seeking out new opportunities for you all and kind of getting a better understanding of what they're looking for to deliver back to you guys. And just a little bit about KForce. We're one of the largest top IT staffing firms in the country. We're top 5 here. We have about 60 offices across the nation. And so, we really do pride ourselves in consultant care, making sure everybody is educated on the positions that they're going to be, searching for, and then making sure that we get you to the finish line and you're happy with your assignment or your permanent placement as well.
So how long have you been with KForce?
So I have been with KForce for just a little bit under a year. I actually have been there since November. And previously I was in real estate. So it's kind of it's very relationship based. Um, and so I am able to kind of bring that to the table here with KForce, which I really enjoy.
And Naria has actually been very intentional and consistent with reaching out to Black Orlando Tech. So this is not just some sort of, Black Lives Matter, let's reach out to Black Orlando Tech and do a webinar. She has actually been very consistent with coming out to BOT events, reaching out to us, posting in our Facebook group, and emailing us different positions. So we have a lot of support from Naria with KForce and a few other companies and organizations. And so I encourage you to make sure that you are in the Facebook group, that you sign up for our newsletter, because we do have organizations like KForce and in relationships with people like Naria that help us to post positions and make sure that we have representation in these companies. So I just wanted to make sure we put that out there, that this is not like a fly-by-night webinar.
Absolutely. And honestly, one of my biggest goals, and I do see every day tons of resumes, tons of candidates, and I don't see much diversity. So my goal is to, really bring that to the table. There's a lot of opportunity that people don't know about, and I think it's important to get that opportunity out there for people to see. Cool. Perfect. So we'll kind of start off with something that's super important in the job search, particularly, is building a network and building a personal brand. So in the world of social media, it's extremely important to be present, have everything updated, because this is the first thing that employers look at. When they see your resume, they automatically take your name, look you up on Facebook, look you up on LinkedIn, look you up on Instagram. So my number one advice to everyone is stay professional. It's not, if you have a Facebook, make sure it's private. I wouldn't post anything that, you don't want future employers to see, or people that you're not close to see, because that is something that's their first impression when they look for your name on social media. And also another thing is just staying active within LinkedIn. It's very important to reach out to people that you don't know. If you have a organization in mind that you really want to target, or that's your dream organization to work for, reach out to people within that company. Take them out to coffee. I know that sounds really tedious, but build a relationship. I mean, searching for a job is a job in itself. And it really is relationship based. So just kind of making sure that everything is updated, making sure your resume aligns with your LinkedIn is extremely important as well. Whenever you have a professional achievement, it's also important to post that on your LinkedIn. Showcase all the certifications that you're getting. If you have a referral or recommendation from someone, post that. People want to see that, engage with others as well. I know it kind of sounds, or it feels weird to like or post or comment on people's posts that you may not know closely. But that engagement is really important, because they're going to remember your name when they see you. Either send them a message or send them an email or give them a call when you're reaching out for opportunities.
Yeah, keeping up with LinkedIn is super important. I have gotten a number of career opportunities and recruiters reaching out to me based off of the updates or the my LinkedIn profile. So certain keywords, I've had recruiters, reach out and they see Salesforce, or they see architect, and they reach out to me because they have done a search and pulled back that information. Also, I've gotten a number of requests and made new connections based off of my what I share on LinkedIn. So articles that I share, updates that I share have also broadened my network a lot. And so that gives another level of visibility, and even being able to show your expertise in a different area as you are able to share or post or make articles or do blogs. LinkedIn is a great way for you to build your brand. In regards to your company or your career, your designated career. So definitely, LinkedIn has been a great help for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does, when you're going out to meet people and you're networking, I know it's a little bit tricky now, but there's a lot of wonderful virtual events. And when you do sign up for those events, you get the attendee list as well. So, I always recommend take that attendee list, shoot a message to everyone and say, hey, this was a really great meeting that went on. Can we connect outside? Because you never know who knows who or what kind of opportunities are hidden within a connection. But keeping that LinkedIn updated is extremely important. And also, it's a great way to kind of tell your story without being too blatant about it. You can post some information on what you do outside of your professional work. So, putting volunteering information on there as well. If you're teaching, if you do any kind of mentoring, people like to see that too, so they know that you're, a real person as well.
And don't forget to update your picture, update your description, update your job description, and don't put every job on earth on your LinkedIn. Put the ones relevant to the position that you're going for. Make sure those descriptions are accurate. Just make sure your skills are listed. Just really, I encourage you to do a deep dive on your LinkedIn and make sure that it's telling the story that you want to tell.
Yeah, I would say about 5 years relevant information. If you have multiple jobs within that 5 years, I would put them on there as long as it pertains to the position that you're looking into. I know sometimes kind of jumping to the resume part, but you may have different resumes for different positions, but you really want to try and have a general overview on your LinkedIn so people can kind of just get a general idea of who you are and what you're looking for. So I just kind of want to take a quick question, maybe a quick poll for people in the comments or people watching. What social platform have you used in the past or right now that you feel like you've gotten the best result from? I know a lot of people use LinkedIn, but also Meetup and Twitter are huge opportunities that I don't think are being tapped into right now. So if anybody has any feedback on that, I'd love to hear that as well. LinkedIn, definitely LinkedIn. Um, I would also recommend Meetup as well. There's a lot of professional organizations that you can tap into. And like I said, if you have an organization that you're looking to join or looking to branch into, Meetups is a great way to find those people as well. Or you can also go through LinkedIn and find somebody you'd like to connect with and say, hey, do you have any recommendations for good for meetup groups or professional organizations that I can get into or join so that you can broaden your network as well. Cool. So, resume part. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about because it is basically it's kind of a LinkedIn but on paper. This is your opportunity to showcase everything, and you really only have about 30 seconds to a minute to capture somebody's attention through this resume. So, a lot of times it goes through different filters or different phases before it actually gets to the hiring manager. So, when you're going through an online portal to apply for a job, you have, the bots that are looking through it, and basically they're looking for keywords within your resume to showcase you have the skills. So it's kind of taking that information from the job description and taking the information from your resume and pulling information out to make sure it matches. So say if it is they're looking for an engineer or developer, they want to know what kind of programming language you're well versed in. I would put that as much as you possibly can on your resume so that it shows up multiple time through that filter. It seems redundant, it seems kind of like a lot, but it's extremely helpful to do that, to get through that first step of that application process.
So, are you saying, just to be clear, that people are not going to read all 4 pages of a resume? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is exactly what I am saying. Um, and I will say from personal experience, whenever we have a candidate or someone that's applying, it usually comes from the recruiter to my desk. I get their resume, I call them, and I say, hey, just kind of want to chat with you about your resume. And I will sometimes coach them through it before it's actually submitted to the manager. And a couple of things is really key. So keep it short and sweet. 2 pages max. There's no reason for there to be 2 or more pages to your resume. I would say keep the most relevant information as possible. Technology is an ever evolving thing. So something that you may be well versed in 10 years ago is probably not going to be relevant now. So I would say keep that information relevant, keep it short, keep it sweet, and kind of make a nice layout, if you will. That way it can showcase um, the most accurate information if possible.
What about adding colors to your resume or colorful backgrounds or
So I personally like to see a little bit of color. I know it's it ranges differently, but I like to see just a little bit, but a plain black and white will do. Too much color, more than one color is too much. Don't go crazy on the colors. Don't go crazy on the fonts. Keep it simple. Normally, there's a portion where you can put like professional achievements or personal achievements. Definitely add those to your resume. People want to know who you are outside of this resume. So when they're looking at your resume, they want to know, one, do you have the technical skill set to perform this job efficiently and effectively? Number two, are you going to be a good team member to our company's culture? So, if the company is big in volunteering or giving back to the community, and you also do volunteering in something that's important to you, highlight that on your resume. You never know where that connection is going to be formed. They may say, hey, this is great. We want somebody that has, a giving, caring personality, or, they're going to be able to translate that into your resume. And it's definitely helpful to see.
the other thing I also suggest is having more than one resume if you are applying for different types of positions.
Correct. Absolutely 100%. So if you are a business analyst, or if you are looking to move into like a business analyst managerial position, definitely have 2 different resumes to showcase your different skills. So if you are applying for a BA position, and it's not asking for leadership experience or anything like that, but you do put on their resume, they're going to see, okay, great, they have the leadership experience, but what if this person feels, overqualified, or they're going to get bored in this position? So I would definitely critique it to what you are applying to. Um, Also, another thing is study the job description and then match that to your resume. So I know a common myth is to have one resume and send it out blankly to everybody, but really take the time and look over the job description. What are the key points of that job description? And then match that to your resume as best as you can, so that when you do present it to the hiring manager, the HR, it's correlating, if you will.
So we have a question. Rose asked, should you add your headshot to your resume?
So I say no. I say no. Don't add your headshot to your resume, but definitely have your professional links included. So if you have a professional Twitter, not your personal Twitter, add that to your resume. If you have your LinkedIn and it's updated and well-rounded, add that to your LinkedIn as well. And that's where they can see your picture and kind of get a glimpse of your personality. But I don't think that having it on your resume is a good option.
And we have just one comment here from AJ that said that a career coach suggested to him to put his name and header in a deep green color.
Interesting. Again, to the colors, I like, or one color or two colors that are similar shade are great, because it's standing out. It's the perfect amount of standing out, if you will. But I think too much, multiple colors, maybe too much, and instantly confuse somebody when they see the resume.
Oh, and she. I think I said he. Sorry, saying AJ.
Right.
So, yes. There was one more thing I want to say about resume, and I just forgot. Oh, so bullet points. I've seen a few resumes recently that have had, and I don't know if you're going to go into this later, but it's been like bullet point overload, like an absurd amount of bullet points um, with maybe bullets and that are not
Relevant.
impressive or helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the bullet point overload is just someone overthinking too much, right? So, um, from someone who's creating a resume, you always kind of want to put the most important things on there that is relevant to the job. So I know there's a lot of, filler things that you can put on there. But really just keep it technical. So, hiring managers in the tech world are extremely technical people, and sometimes they don't have the wherewithal or even patience to kind of go through the little extras, if you will. Communicating efficiently and effectively, or able to meet deadlines. I would say be specific as you possibly can, and talk about in third person. What have you done to your organization, or how have you contributed to your past organization, and how will that correlate to the job that you're looking for, if you will. So if you get stuck when you're making your resume and you instantly want to put in filler stuff or filler words, filler comments, go back to what have I done in my previous organizations, how have I most contributed, and add that detail and that color into it.
Cool. And one last thing is, I had a good friend, Lachey Reeves, who is an HR professional and does some salary negotiation coaching. She taught me a really good trick that if you have someone that is not familiar with what you do, read through your resume, your bullet points, and see if what you have there sounds impressive to them. And I thought that that was a really good kind of suggestion, a way to kind of check to see if what you've written sounds impressive and is clear to someone that is not familiar with kind of what you do.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great point. And to that point, a lot of HR professionals, they are working with a lot of tech roles, sometimes different roles, finance and accounting. So they may not be as tech apt as you would think, right? So your resume should be kind of, you should be able to explain it, or someone very young should be able to read it and kind of get an understanding of what you do, so that they'll be able to transfer that to the hiring manager. And then also just key points, add some personal information, if you will, to it, like what kind of languages do you speak. If you are bilingual, add that as well. I would kind of put a little bit blurb on your hobbies. That's important to add as well, but definitely personal and professional achievements are going to be important. So also, to your last point, think about your intended audience. Who is going to be reading this? It's mostly going to be HR professionals and the hiring manager, or someone from that team, either like a senior level or a team lead is going to be kind of pre-reading that resume before it actually gets to the final decision maker. So you want to make sure everything is well communicated on your resume as well. Um, Also, something to add that I don't see usually, or I should see more often, is the position that you're applying for. It's simple, right? But be very specific to the position that you're applying for. Put it on the resume so they understand, hey, I'm looking for a project management position. Um, And then, definitely highlight your career progression with the experience that you're putting onto your resume. So you want to make sure everything is neat and organized, and it kind of falls in line in a timely manner. Um, so yeah. Also, I would say a big thing that I see is the grammar and the spelling.
Yeah.
Um, it's I think sometimes people maybe just feel a little bit rushed and they don't do a spell check, but that is the one thing that I see the most. It's a simple kickback. You would be surprised how many hiring managers say, I don't even want to read this resume. The grammar is all over the place. The spelling is not correct. How am I supposed to know that they're able to do an appropriate job if they can't have their resume, with the proper grammar and correct spelling?
The other thing I see is I still see people that include like a summary section at the top of their resume, and I usually delete them.
Yeah. Again, I would keep it. I wouldn't do a paragraph. I would not even do a couple of sentences, maybe two at most. Highlight the position that you're looking for in detail, and say, I have these skill sets that would make a great fit for it, and let them read the rest of the resume. But I would not get hung up on the summary part at all. So, mastering the interview and doing some studying beforehand. So, the most important thing that the hiring manager will usually ask first, or the HR manager will ask first during an interview, is what do you know about the company? I have heard them ask, what do you know about our competitors? Um, and then also research the people that you are going to be interviewing. It may be different for other firms, but for us, we always include an interview prep guide, and it tells you who you're going to be hiring with, what their LinkedIn is. That way, you can do some research and kind of get a better understanding of what they do, where they've been in the past. You never know; you may have worked at the same organization or within the same team, and can kind of touch on that when you're in the interview as well.
And for everyone that maybe missed the intro, Naria works for KForce, and she does a lot of looking through resumes, talking with clients about what types of positions that they're looking for. So I highly encourage you that if you have any questions about resumes, interviews, that she's done this a lot over her career. So I highly encourage you to ask, any questions about that process, questions about working with a recruiter, and anything about the interview and the job hunting process that you have.
Yeah. And also, to touch on the relationship with the recruiter or your staffing partner, it's really important if you're going to be utilizing a staffing partner. Or vendor like ourselves, when you're going through this process, to have that relationship, to maintain that relationship, to always stay in front of them, because we're the ones that see the opportunity come first. So if you have a great relationship with that client manager or with that recruiter, you're instantly going to come to mind first, because you're always at top of mind for them. So also, while you're doing your networking, I would reach out to multiple client managers as well as recruiters, and just build a relationship. Ask them to go out to coffee, or hey, can we speak for a couple moments about the opportunities that you're working on. They normally can't tell you who the client is, or things of that nature, but they will do their best to guide you through the process, and make sure when your resume is up to date, and keep you in mind for opportunities that come to the forefront.
If you see the third circle on the screen that talks about video interviews, these are actually more and more common. So
Yeah.
I have interviewed with large corporations that I did not talk to a person. I got an email. They said log into the system. I think they sent me the questions in advance. I don't remember, but I got the questions, you get a practice try, and then you go through with the interview. And so this is more and more common. It is very nerve-wracking, but
Yeah.
this is definitely very, very common. And so practicing your interviews, practicing a STAR methodology, going through and looking up like behavioral interview questions. A lot of companies still use the same old questions. It's definitely worthwhile to practice what you're going to say and have answers for those different types of questions and practice with someone.
Absolutely. So you definitely want to role play those scenarios. So the video interviews, they have two different ones, right? So they have a video interview where essentially it's recording you, and it's got questions that pop up and you have to answer them and speak into the camera, and then it sends over to the HR or the hiring manager to view. Those are the most nerve-wracking interviews pre-screening process I have ever seen in my entire life. And there's really, sometimes they'll send you the questions prior to, and sometimes they won't. So essentially, you just have to do your best to navigate those. I always say, don't freak out, breathe a little bit, relax. Um, Study some common questions that are going to be asked. Normally, it's not technical questions that are going to be asked in those pre-screening. It's going to be very generic, kind of like, tell us about a situation where you had to navigate a difficult situation, or tell us a time that you had to troubleshoot a scenario, or kind of simple questions like that. And you don't want to overthink them as well. So that would be my best advice for those interviews.
So I have a question. We have a question, and then this kind of reminded me of the question I had that I forgot. So let's say you're new to tech, and let's say you're going through the Black Orlando Tech cohort, and you're learning a new skill. How do you incorporate non-paid experience, like a course or pro bono project, into your resume to show your technical skills?
Absolutely. So great question. I If you are going through, the cohort and you're learning different things, I would translate that as best as you can to your resume. Add in as much detail as possible. What have you learned? How did you applicate this to real life scenarios? Because it's not like you have the tangible experience previously, so you really have to translate to them how you're going to utilize this in the future. Also, a great way to bridge yourself into it is talk about your passions. Why did you get into tech? What drove you into it? Why are you interested in it? Because a lot of times, they want to hear your passion through it. And the more passionate you are about it, the more interested you seem. So that would be helpful as well. But as far as the how to apply that information, I would best explain it in the resume if you can. So, say if you've learned how to debug something, I would walk them through the process on your resume, a quick blurb. Hopefully that was helpful.
EP, was that helpful? I hope that answered your question. And then AJ says that, wow, that's interesting. I was asked to send in video answers for an interview. I didn't proceed because it seemed weird, sketchy. I agree. When I got the interview,
weird. To send answers, that's weird because I haven't experienced that before, so I'm not quite sure how I could answer that. But there's a lot of scams out there, or a lot of fishy things, and if it seems fishy to you, I would not even do it. You don't know what information they're using, who these people are. I know sometimes while you're in your job search, you'll get a lot of messages from overseas recruiters, or different organizations that may not be as reputable, but definitely do some research on them before giving your personal information or answers to an interview, because that is extremely sketchy.
yeah, mine was through a large airline. So
Okay.
the email said that I was selected for an interview, and this was an actual system. And so they purchased a system. I forget the name of it. And so there were instructions for the system where I had to log in and then proceed with a video interview. So they it would ask me the question. I would have a moment to think about it. And
Yeah.
then inside of the system, I would have to press the button and then it would record me. And I think you get like 3 chances to record it. So it was through an actual system, not like me having to send in the video.
Okay. So
Yeah.
those are the nerve-wracking video interviews that I'm talking about, the where they just kind of they get you're recording it, and those they're they're hard to prepare for because you don't really know what you're preparing for. So in that instance, I say just, relax as best as you can, breathe a little bit and do just, be calm in that situation because I know sometimes when people get choked up, it's a little bit difficult to communicate for those.
And then on the thank you notes, I'm so bad at this. Can you just email a thank you note or should you actually mail a thank you note?
So, email is better because they're going to get it immediately. It's the easiest way to communicate, right? I'm old fashioned. I like to do mailing notes, but I always suggest doing both because it takes 2 seconds to send a thank you email and maybe a little bit longer to write a thank you note. But they're going to get that thank you note in the mail and it's going to hit them because does anybody get thank you cards anymore ever? Not usually. So it's going to, it's going to have them remember you like, wow, they really took the time to, write a thank you note. They're appreciative on the interview. And that definitely will showcase your interest. I wanted to kind of go back to EP Pool. I know you had asked that question, but if you have outside experience, if you've mentored at an organization before, if you've taught younger children on tech or things of that nature, anything outside of work, non-paid, paid, include that on your resume or in your presentation because it'll definitely showcase that gap, that bridge, if you will. So, any particular questions?
Alex said he still gives thank you cards. It's usually one of my biggest staples per interview. My
Yeah.
husband does that. I always forget. Well, first of all, I would definitely have to email it because I'm never going to make it to the mailbox. So
Yes.
if I
If you
need to
can't make
mail
it to the mailbox, shoot
something,
a
it's
nice
not
little
coming.
email. You can also find them on LinkedIn. Send them a nice little in mail. Say, thank you for speaking with me today. I don't think they're going to find that creepy. I think they're going to find that really nice that you took the time out to do that.
So if we want to go back to as far as interviews, um, I technical interviews I feel usually have a lot of situational questions. They really want you to be able to demonstrate in an interview and use past experience of some sort to be able to display your expertise in the area. And so I think sometimes that's really hard, especially if you have lots of years of experience. And so I know one thing that has helped me is to do a better job of taking note of the projects and accomplishments um, for my projects as I'm doing them or per month. So it's that way when you're going into your interview, you have, you know, actual examples to use and use the best ones. And you can't, if you try to think of that off the top of your head, it's not going to go well. So you should definitely think through your top examples or your top projects where you can demonstrate and answer the question really well. One of those behavioral interview questions or one of those STAR method questions.
Absolutely. And take your top five, most precious achievements that you really feel passionate about and speak on those because that's when if they're really important to you, if you feel like you've really done a great job on these projects or, achievements, that's going to show in your communication when you're speaking with them. And they'll get a better understanding of your achievements with that project. But yeah, I would just say keep the most relevant projects if possible, and then real life application as well. That's the best way to translate if you're getting stuck on those interviews.
So we have a question about suggestions on filling an employment gap. Should you add to your resume and LinkedIn while in between jobs? So my, I don't, I think I do have some employment gaps. I have, if you look at my resume chronologically, which it is not chronologically, um, you would be like, oh my gosh, that girl has had a lot of jobs. So my resume is not a chronological resume. It is grouped strategically to tell the story that I wanted to tell, which is not, I don't like these places and I only stay there for a year and a half. So I think you have to be creative with with what's on your resume. The times that I had gaps, I put my contractor experience in there. So any independent projects, that's how I explain any gaps I have.
Yeah, that's a great way to fill in the gaps is if you have had contractor positions or freelance, or if you're working on yourself and your professional experience outside of actually working, put that on there. A lot of times I see people will put we're studying for my my certia, or they're studying for a certification, or they went back to school. Or you can even get as personal as, hey, I had to take care of my family. They like to see that. I don't think they like to see multiples of that. But definitely I would include that and explain it as well, because they're going to ask.
Agreed. Any other questions about interviews, resumes, salary questions? Because we didn't talk about salary. Nobody actually had a salary question. So I'll ask the salary question.
Okay, great.
So sometimes I've had recruiters that initially ask, about salary before the interview has even started. Like, what's your salary range? And what do you think is a good way to maybe answer that question?
I would answer it competently and stay. So if they're asking you, like, what's your range, or what do you feel comfortable with, be honest with them. Like, tell them what you want and let them determine, well, this is out of their rate, or this is out of their salary expectations. But be upfront, but also you will have to justify if it's completely over what they're looking for. You'll have to justify why you want that amount of money. But I always say, ask for what you want, because you don't know on the other end if they have the budget for it or not. But most of the times they're just asking that to get a gauge. So I would always ask them, what's the salary expectation, or what is this opportunity presenting? And then in your mind you can kind of go from there. But I always say, ask for 10,000 more than where you are right now and see what they come back out, because usually they'll say, well, it's not not a good fit based on salary or whatnot. They'll try to speak with you to find a good middle point so that you're happy and it makes sense for the client as well.
And then Kelda has a question. It says, are side businesses or side hustles a turnoff for recruiters? Should we keep them under wraps during the job hunt?
So it depends on what kind of side business, side hustle it is, right? So if you are, applying for an engineer position, but you're doing like, uh, uh, Uber, or hair on the side, or some kind of something that's completely unrelated, I would not add it to the resume. I would keep it off, keep it under wraps. I wouldn't say too much about it, because instantly they're going to think, well, are they going to be able to show up for the assignment, or are they going to are they really committed? Is this just something short term for them? So if it's relevant to the job you're applying for, absolutely. If it's not, I wouldn't put it on there.
Yeah, I have mine on there, but it's relevant to what I do as far as Salesforce consulting. And so I do have that listed. That is something though, like it's fine if I'm going to a corporation to do Salesforce work, but if I'm interviewing for a recruiting company, then I can't say, oh, I also do my own side Salesforce projects. I would have to
Yeah.
tell them, no, I don't do that right now.
Yeah.
So, so you do have to think about conflicts of interest,
Sure.
and whether you're going to use that or not too, depending on, like you're saying, what you're doing in that side business.
Absolutely. And I also want to um, touch on the salary portion as well. I wouldn't volunteer your current salary unless absolutely necessary because they're going to use that, as they're gonna try and use that to justify, what you're gonna be offered or whatnot. But also, a great way to negotiate your salary is to actually use data. So, I would say, well, I've seen in the market, this is what they're pricing at. This is what the salary is for, and kind of go off that to justify what you're going to be asking for. Has COVID-19 affected the salaries being offered? Um, Not that I have seen. I mean, overall in the workforce, there has been, ebbs and flows with everything going on, but I have not seen a salary reduction or anything of that nature with certain positions.
I would agree too, because remember, not every industry is affected the same.
That is 100% true. Yes.
There's some industries that are doing very well, and they expect to kind of level off, but not every industry is impacted for sure. And I know that there's this perception that there, I some industries have definitely been affected, but some have not, and
Yeah.
there's still a lot of people hiring. There's still job offers being made. So I mean,
Yeah.
I just coached someone through an interview. It was a long interview process, but she started interviewing like 2 months ago. She just got the offer like last week, and her offer is like probably 20 grand over what she was making before. And she had been out of work for a while. And so, again, companies are still hiring. It just depends on the sector, it depends on what area of the company you're going into. But, stuff is still happening. There's lots of
Yeah.
opportunities still being opened out there.
Yeah. And right now, just kind of what I'm seeing in the market based on what my clients are telling me, with everybody working from home, and they're not in the office, they have to tighten up their security. So I see a lot of cybersecurity positions or network administrators as well, Skype engineers, Windows 365. All of these organizations that are not allowed in the office are now having to work off of Skype, off of Zoom, off of all of these applications to conduct their meetings that they would otherwise in person. So, you're going to see a lot of those type of jobs in the marketplace as well.
Do you have any more questions left? Anyone? Anyone? If anybody likes my t-shirt, I got it from thefoolies.com, FOOLIES. If anyone likes this shirt, I wore it on purpose, clearly, because I'm all for you should definitely hire Black people. And that's what Black Orlando Tech is here to help assist with that process of getting more minorities into the tech sector. I am a big cheerleader for and proponent of helping people transition into tech or add additional tech skills to your resume because tech pays.
It
Um,
does.
Tech definitely pays, and it's important to help people get paid. It makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. There's, like I said, there's really not, there's a lot of opportunity out there that I don't think people realize. And to your point, tech does pay 100%. And there are organizations every single day looking for people that are trying to get into tech to pay them big dollars. So, also another point is, a lot of people get caught up in the certifications part and, which ones you should look into, but the hands-on experience is definitely going to overweigh that certifications. I mean, they're going to want to see that you have that, but they're also going to want to see that you can utilize your certifications. You know how, and you have that experience. So I know sometimes people don't want like an entry level position, if you will, in tech, but that's a great way to get your foot in the door, because once you're in, you're in. You have access to these people at the organization. Even if you're going through a recruiter or a staffing firm, we're not you're on site with the people there. So utilize them if you can, and build your network around that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, people think that being in a technology position, that you have to be like super technical. You have to know how to code. And I do not know how to code. I can read this much code. I'm not going to be a coder. Like I don't, there are a lot of technical positions or positions in tech that are not super technical. Like you're not going to have to be behind the scenes in the computer inside of the code. There's a lot of positions where you are working at the UI level, just a user of a software or helping to translate. There are lots of other positions where you do not have to be super geeky in order to be in that position. And it makes a difference. So there's a range there. But
Yeah.
if you take a BA in other areas, like I don't know, like a finance BA or other BAs, and then you take a technical BA or an IT project manager, sometimes those positions get paid a lot more just because they're in the IT space. And so you can definitely have someone help you look at your background and see how you could transition or how the skills and your past background translates into the technical kind of workspace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, going back, I hate to go back to LinkedIn and the network part, but pick people's brains. If there's somebody that is in an organization or in a job that you want to eventually be in, pick their brains as much as you can, because they know the route. They know what it's like to go through that. They know what you're going to be running into. So you're going to get a lot of information from those people, if you just connect with them. I mean, even outside of me being in staffing, when I was in real estate and I wanted to work for a new construction community, I would go on to David Weekley's or DR Horton's LinkedIn and just add as many people as I could and make the connections and just ask the questions. Like, you can always ask them, what's the interview process look like? Or who heads your HR department? Who would be the best person to get in contact with about this position? Or, what is the interview process like? What kind of questions do they ask? You can ask them as many questions as you'd like. And if they say no, they say no. If they say yes, that just opened a door of opportunity for you, that you don't even realize. So that would be, if there's anything that anybody would take out of this, connect with people in the area of expertise that you want to get into.
Yeah, I agree. I get a lot of people that ask me, that will message me about a position or someone that they like LinkedIn. So one EP, yes, you definitely need to go update your LinkedIn. Yes, people do look at it. I
Immediately.
look at my interviewers. So when I find out who I'm interviewing with, I go on their LinkedIn and I'm like, let me see your background. Let me look at how long you've been at the company. Let me see where you're from, where you went to school. One, because I want to know how much our backgrounds are alike. So sometimes I've interviewed with people and they don't have a lot of Salesforce experience. So I'm not going to talk to them about Salesforce necessarily. I want to try to connect with them on other areas. And so if we're from the same city, or if I know something about their city, I'm looking for ways to connect with them. But I've definitely had people go look at my resume. I mean, go look at my LinkedIn profile before they interview me, because they're checking
Yeah.
me out too.
Yes, that is the number one. I mean, even for myself, when I get a resume, I immediately go check their LinkedIn. And also another thing, people will go on to, there's an activity tab, and you can kind of play around with your LinkedIn to hide it or show it, but there's an activity tab, and people can see all of the activity that you have on LinkedIn. So that part of stay professional, watch what you post, people can see everything, and they will judge you on that, whether you like it or not. But you just want to make sure, it's all cleaned up and nice and tidy, if you will.
Then this question is from Michael Hardy. If you are underpaid at your current position, but you have the years and experience qualified for that position, is it unreasonable to ask for a desired salary rate above the 10K threshold you stated? For example, engineers pay 75K, but the years and experience market value is 95K. So I know Lachey touched on this at one of our prior meetings. So I don't know. I've read several articles about the longer you stay in your current position at your current company, you know, the more underpaid you may be as far as market rate, right? And so
Yeah.
definitely that's why Noria was saying you should know what the going rate is for the position you're applying for. The 10K was just a suggestion, but I've definitely asked for I knew that I was underpaid in a position, and I would not take another position until I was paid at the rate that I wanted with the role that I wanted. So if you know what you're looking for, you know what you should be paid, then you ask for that. That's the
Yeah.
whole point of.
Yeah. And also, if you say you love your, also, I will say, every organization is different. So, with their budget and whatnot, and if they have the means to do it, but if you feel like you are underpaid at your current position, but you've been there, a long time, do some research on the data. Look at on Glassdoor, you can look at their competitors of the current company that you're in and see what they're paying similar roles. And say, hey, I realize I'm getting paid this much, but the market is showing that our competitors are paying this much for this position with this experience, and that's a great way to even to negotiate your salary if you want to stay where you are, as well. Because again, you never know what they have in the back in their budget, so it doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, if you love where you're at, I would definitely present that market data, reasonable market data, and use it to your advantage and say, hey, listen, I would like to explore a raise in my salary based on the market.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not the best negotiator. I've just gotten this raise.
Okay.
Definitely, if you don't ask for it, I mean, you can't. You have to be brave enough to ask for what you want.
Yeah.
You have to be able to have that conversation and say, this is my goal, this is the position I want to get to, this is the salary I want to get to, and be able to tell someone, ask someone, okay, how do I get here? So you cannot, companies in business of making money, you're an expense, it's not free. So you have to be, just a little aggressive, or more aggressive isn't the word, but
It's a good word. It's a good word for it. I mean, because you do, right? You're in charge of you, and if you are feeling uncomfortable and you're not making, you feel like you're not making that desired salary, you have to be aggressive to yourself and say, hey, listen, I deserve this. I put in the work. And also, come up with a little one pager of all of the accomplishments you've had, that have contributed to the business and the growth of their business. How have you contributed to, them making more money? Because that's, again, they're in the business of making more money. So that's how you can earn more money, showing them how you've made them more money.
A reputable site to research market data. So I definitely use Glassdoor. I use LinkedIn, but I have a premium LinkedIn, so I don't know what it looks like without premium. And then that's kind of where networking comes in. So I think you should, I mean, yeah, do some research online, and I think you can also, I mean, I always ask the recruiter, what's the range for this position?
Yeah. Um, Definitely Glassdoor is a big one. You can always use like the US Census as well, but you definitely speak to the recruiter and feel the recruiter out, right? Because just get an idea of their personality, get an idea of how they work best, how they communicate best. Because sometimes, recruiters get burned all the time from candidates. They have, great candidates that are interviewing, they decline the offer, whatever it may be. So they're people too with their own, emotions and whatnot. But just kind of get a better understanding of their personality and learn how to talk to them so you can ask the right questions and get the right answers back. Um, but in short, definitely use Glassdoor. The LinkedIn Navigator is a wonderful tool in your job search. If you have not taken advantage of the LinkedIn Premium, I highly, highly recommend to do so. Um, if you have the extra 35 bucks a month to contribute to your LinkedIn as you're doing your job search, I would as well. It'll allow you to send messages to hiring managers, directors, people that won't pop up normally on your LinkedIn will suddenly appear. It's an amazing tool.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, then this question is, as a newbie, do you try to negotiate your salary or do you try to get your foot in the door?
That's a great question. So both, right? I mean, if you feel like they're offending you with what they're offering, um, definitely definitely negotiate that because nothing is worse than getting into a position that that you feel underpaid in and you can't pay your bills with, just to get your foot in the door. But you're going to you're going to show that when you start working. You're going to automatically be unhappy because you're like, wow, I didn't get the money that I wanted. So they're going to feel that. I would negotiate as best as you can and do what's right for you. If they're offering 12, $13 an hour, go back and negotiate if you feel like you cannot live on that.
Agreed.
Hope that answers.
Um, I don't see any more questions. Rose did list two sites. She listed Glassdoor and Levels.fyi. And I also think you can look at like the state data or something. I don't know the website, but
It should be you could do the US Census Bureau as well. I believe you can take a look at that and kind of tailor into the state and the city that you're looking into. Um, yeah. And also, I do try to post as well on Facebook. But if anybody has any other questions or they just kind of want to chat a little bit more in depth, please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me. I have my email, my office phone number on a couple of posts in the Black Orlando Tech group. So I'm here to help in any way, shape, or form as best as I can.
yes, and please remember to share this video, like this video. We hope that you found it helpful. Please visit www.blackorlandotech.com to sign up for our newsletter, to read more about our tech cohorts, to sign up for those. Those will be starting here shortly. And thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a great night.